Hello, YouTube family, and welcome to the first of I hope to be many episodes where we discuss our various topics and various interesting peoples. I'm kind of glad that the first person that I'll be interviewing is my mother, who is the author of "Suppose Jesus Had Thrown in a Towel and Given Up on Us." Um, a very good book. We just want to pick Miss Dolores McMillan's brain a little bit and see how she came up with the book and what inspired her and what to expect from her going forward. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Paul.
When you told me you wrote this book, it like came out of nowhere to me. I was like, it really inspired me because I was writing a little bit here and there and stuff, but when you did it, it really inspired me. I was like, wow, and I remember you giving me the advice, well, Paul, if you want to write a book about your life, at least write one page a day for a year. You have a 365-page book, But then when you did it, I was just so impressed and so flabbergasted. I was like, wow, and stuff. And the book is good. I read books, and I like good books and stuff, and this is a very good book. Definitely recommend it. But YouTube family, let's get started. Mom, Mr. Lois, when you before you wrote this book, what interested you and what got you interested in writing in the first place?
Well, I was always interested in writing. When I was a little girl, I wrote. My stepdad would tell jokes, and I would get a book and I would write them down. And they was good, clean jokes, not like the jokes they have these days. But I would write them down. And then when I would read a book and I would find jokes, I would write those jokes down in the book. And I just loved to write. And over the years that I got older, I got away from it. But then when I started going through things, I remembered Psychology 101. And the professor said, write it down. If you're upset with someone, write it down. You might not send it to them. You might not give it to them. But write it down and you'll feel better. Even if you burn it up, write it down. You got your feelings, out there.
Yep.
So that's what I did. I started writing down and logging the things that I was going through. Over years, I just wrote it down and I dated it. And my sister, Dr. Evelyn Taylor, came down and did a women's conference, and she had published her first book. So I'm like, she was talking to me, and she said, well, Lois, why don't you write a book? And it's like I didn't want to because I was like embarrassed over what I had went through.
About putting your basically putting your life on the line,
laying it out there.
It out for everybody to see and stuff.
So I was embarrassed at what I went through.
But it made for a good read, though.
Oh, yeah. And, but I was so embarrassed and I didn't want anybody to know that didn't already know. So I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? People be looking at me funny, telling me how stupid I was to stay in a situation like that. And then one day, I was thinking on it. And the Spirit says that if you don't tell anyone, you went through it for nothing. So you got to tell people, because a lot of people out there that's going through things in the marriage, a lot of people going through things in finances, a lot of people going through in their health. And I went through all three back to back. But the most embarrassing thing was to let people really know what I went through in the marriage. But through it all, I come up with, and I was thinking in my mind, and the Lord speaking to me and all, it's like, suppose I gave up on you. Suppose I give up and says, I'm not going to give you another chance, and I'm just going to kick you to the curb, and whatever happens. So as I thought on it, it's like, that's right. If I do not tell people about it and I'm sitting on it, the devil gonna win. Because he don't want people to know that they can trust in the Lord and He will work it out. You know, as long as they trusting and believing in the Word. I searched the scriptures. I found scriptures to fit every situation that I was going through.
So, your book is very, very heavily faith-based.
Yes.
What brought you to your faith that you believe so strong that you feared God enough not to cast anybody else aside because you didn't want to be cast aside?
Well, I was thinking and praying one day, and I tell you, going through all this I went through in the marriage, and we'll get into that later on as we talk more about it. The Lord let me know that it was a soul. Don't be looking at my husband as my husband. Look, that's a soul to be saved. And if you don't do anything, then who gonna do it? Who's gonna pray? Who's gonna fast? Who's gonna keep him before the Lord? Nobody was gonna do that with me. And the people that I asked to pray with me, and what it was a very small amount of people, because like I said, I didn't want people to know my business, you know. So it was like a small, probably a handful of people, you know. Might have not even been that many, maybe 2 or 3, you know. And they were strong in the Lord, and they was praying. And so I'm like, that's a soul right there, and I can't give up on that soul, you know. All, you know, the things and stuff, you know. When it boiled down to it, that's a soul, and I didn't want his soul lost. So I prayed, I fasted, talked to the Lord, cried, fussed at the Lord. And I know y'all might think I'm crazy, but I fussed at him, you know, at times, and crying and all. And then I bust out laughing like, oh, I'm fussing with the Lord. Really? You know, but then it's just as I saw the hand of the Lord working, and it started working, I started noticing really in my health. Because my back went out at work, and I couldn't work. And so that messed up the finances. So I could hardly walk because my back was so messed up. And going to the doctor backwards and forward, and he's talking about surgery, and I'm like, that's not even an option. I am not having surgery. So I went to the bookstore one day, and I saw a healing book, a little healing book. And I got that book. And my husband would drive me to the therapist. And he didn't have any license. But I said, baby, we're going to pray and trust in the Lord that you get me there, and, you know, no ticket or anything. And he did. All them times I had to go to therapy, my husband took me. And I would lay down in the car and read that healing book. My back hurt me so bad. And the doctor gave me pills, and I would take them, and didn't do no good. And I thank God for that. Because if I had kept taking those pills, I might have got addicted. But the Lord allowed it to be so. The more pills I took, the worse the pain got. And I'm like, oh, I'm not taking these pills no more. I threw them away. I went to therapy. I read my healing book. Anywhere I went, my healing book was with me. I would sit and read my healing book. And I trusted in the Lord. And I kept on going to therapy. And the therapist came to me one day, the supervisor. And she said, Miss McMillan, this is your last day. And I'm like, what? My last day? And she told me, she said, no one that had what you had ever recovered as quickly as you did. I'm like, praise the Lord. She gave me exercises and a TENS unit. And some of you all might know what a TENS unit is. But what you would do is you would put it on where the pain is and turn it on, and it's supposed to numb the pain. And that was it. And the Lord healed me. He healed me. And he healed me, and I'm like, I know he can do anything. I couldn't do basically anything. And I'm like, he healed me, so if he did that, he can do this and he can do that. So as the Lord do things for you and you recognize the Lord is doing it, your faith grows and grows and grows. Not to say you're not going to have setbacks and things come up and knock you for a loop. But if you have your little pity party for a minute and then you say, okay, that's it. And you get back up and you say, God got this. He's got it. He'll work it out. And we'll get into all that later on as we discuss the book more and more. But I want to give you a little idea of it, how my faith grew over the years, because it was a challenge, something I had never been through. I had never been through my health being bad. I had never been through a marriage like I was going through. I had never been through that. I had never been through financial difficulties like I had went through. I had never been through any of that. And Mama used to tell me, she said, well, baby, when you look back on it, you've had a good life. And she said, you have to go through something. And I would ask her, well, why? She said, because it's not going to be a bed of roses all the time. You got to go through something. In order to grow, you got to go through something. If you want to grow, you got to go through something.
Definitely. With this book right here, after you wrote it, did you have a feeling of being liberated, being set free once it was all out there? Was it like a relief to you?
It really was. Because at first I was thinking, I said, now, this book is going to tell the stuff that I've been through, the things my husband did. So I got his permission first. I said, I talked to him, and I says, I want to write this book. And I say, it's going to be in it, the things you've done. But I want to write this book because I feel like it'll help other people. And he was like, well, Dee, if you want to write it, that's fine. Go ahead and write it. I'm behind you. So that's what I did. And as I wrote it, in writing it, it's like I was getting more and more liberated, more and more freer as I wrote the book. Because I'm thinking in my mind, what the devil had in my mind, hey, everybody gonna know what he did. Everybody gonna know what a fool you were to stay with him. The Spirit was telling me, you have to tell it because it'll be a help to somebody. Because a lot of people out here going through stuff. There's a lot of people going through stuff in their marriage. And a lot of times they do throw in the towel and they just give up. But Mama had told me, I used to talk to Mama, and she said, baby, I don't know if I will give up or not, because you might get something worse. And I got to thinking about that thing. I'm like, worse? Really? She said, work with what you got. So I'm like, that's what I did. Me and the good Lord, we just worked with what we had. I mean, everything is not 100%, but I tell you what, it's not like it was. And it's a long way from the way it was. God is working things out,
Okay. So, your first book.
Yes, that's my first book.
Is this going to be a habit?
Of course it is. Of course it is.
So we can expect more from Miss Dolores Washington McMillan.
Yes, definitely.
You heard it here, YouTube family. Suppose Jesus had thrown in the towel and given up on us. This is the first part of many parts that I hope to cover with my mother. It's a very good book. I encourage you to go out there and read it. If you're feeling down, if you're feeling hopeless and stuff, you heard it from her mouth. She wanted to give up. She didn't. It's in the book. Get inspired. And until next time, YouTube family, peace.